Welcome to episode 1 of Daily Double, a horse racing podcast where my dad and I cover some current events in the game, recap and preview some of the biggest races happening in the sport, relive some of our favorite track memories, and have a lot of fun along the way. My name's Josh DiDonato. Give you a little bit of a background as to who we are, my dad and I, and our horse racing intro stories briefly. I was introed to the game very young. I was 6 months old when I was at my first racetrack. Maybe not even, actually.
Yeah, approximately.
Approximately. And I've kind of just been going ever since. When I was real little, my dad would throw me on his shoulders. The jockeys showed me a lot of love, gave me a lot of attention, a lot of free whips, goggles, and autographs, which I cherished a lot. Been going to racetracks ever since. Loved the game, followed the game pretty much ever since I can remember. And wanted to do a horse racing pod where my dad and I got to sit down, take an hour each week, talk about what's going on in the game, make some predictions, make some picks, talk to some people along the way that mean a lot to us in the game, and just have some fun. So I'm going to turn it over here to my dad. This is my dad, Paul.
Hey, guys.
Talk to me about I know we've been through this once before, but your horse racing intro. What was the first time you were at a racetrack?
I've got a handful of memories, but one of my favorite early memories, I was maybe 10, 11 years old. It was maybe around 1961, 62. And my father was a big horse racing buff. He loved horse racing, and he was very good at it. He could read really well, and he could see horses really well. And he also liked to bet pretty big. And we were at Atlantic City Racetrack, and I was with my dad on a September day in 1961 or 62 when I saw him bet $500 to win on a horse named Is a Duchess.
In 62.
Trained by E.I. Kelly. And E.I. Kelly had all of his horses starting with the letter I. And this horse went off 9-5. And this is before there were any exotics. So the win play show pools were very big. And Atlantic City was very popular back then. And my dad bet $500 to win on Is a Duchess. The horse won by 4, and I saw my dad collect $1,400. 1962. True story.
So you continued to go to the racetrack. I know there are stories that my uncles have told me of my dad not being able to get in and having to wait outside and not being able to
I've climbed fences. I've ripped jackets. I put on hats. I put on coats to make myself look older.
I love it. Yeah. And so we are born I was born in New Jersey here. So were you.
Yeah.
New Jersey, right?
Yeah, New Jersey.
Yeah. And we were both born and raised here, and we're New Jersey boys. Our horse racing takes us up the East Coast and back, where we frequent Saratoga in the summer. That's as north as we go.
We love Saratoga.
Delaware and Monmouth being our home tracks, with there both being about an hour and a half drive to either.
Right.
And then all the way down to Gulfstream Park in the winter, where my grandfather, my dad's dad, bought a home a couple blocks away from Gulfstream. And, did he buy that house back in the day because of Gulfstream?
Yes.
That's so cool. Yeah, so those are the tracks that we will always be at each year. And I want to touch a little bit more just because I wasn't there and you have a bird's eye view. One, why was it important, do you think, for you to intro me to the game? And two, when could you tell that I liked it more than just I was going with you?
I would say for me, the game came very, very natural. I've always been an athlete. I've always been energetic. I've always been competitive. I love to be outside. The whole essence of horse racing, it's just a beautiful, active sport with a lot of energy. And it was a big part of my life. I actually love horse racing. it's part of my life. And to not introduce it to you actually would have been an injustice. It wouldn't have been me sharing who I was with you. And after I brought you there, you seem to have the same kind of energies. And I think I think the game of horse racing is that beautiful. When you're looking at horses and colors and excitement, who wouldn't like it? You got to be like a real stiff to not like horse racing.
So Do you think for me it was once I developed a little bit of my own competitive nature and like appreciation for, let's say, the animals, which horse is my favorite animal, when I sort of like it kind of clicked for me when I was little,
Yeah,
or maybe a couple
I would say
win
so,
bets.
but there was a lot of human contact because I'm such a loudmouth. I would say hello to all the jockeys. We had our relatives there, our friends there. It was a very social occasion. It wasn't like a quiet place. And the energy of it, I think, is still to this day. When I walk into Saratoga Racetrack, there's a completely different energy as soon as you walk through the gate. You just feel some kind of electricity, and that's what happens with the really good quality tracks, especially the ones that are frequented by many people. And I thought you kind of bid onto that as well because you had the same energies I had, same DNA, and I believe we're a lot alike.
We are. So during the time on this podcast, we are going to go in a handful of directions. One of those directions will be sharing some of our favorite track stories. So we're not going to get too deep into the weeds into our origin story of how we fell in love with the horses and the track, because you'll kind of learn that as we go with this pod. We want to take it in a handful of different directions and have fun with it. But we wanted to dive in today a little bit on something happening, current event in the game, which is the Belmont Stakes this week. This Saturday, this podcast coming out on the Thursday or Friday prior to Belmont Stakes. Little bit of a background to the Kentucky Derby and this friendly rivalry / feud we have, which is sovereignty versus journalism. So I'm going to take you back about 6 weeks now. I hear my dad tell me journalism's the horse. I think journalism's a fantastic animal. I got on the phone one day with him and I said, I found the horse. His name's Sovereignty. He's big. He looks like the longer the race goes, the better he gets. Long story short, he and I went back and forth on it, and we said, okay, well, we got to make sure we bet the exacta. And what did we do?
We bet to win, both of us on our own horses, like stubborn mules that we are.
We didn't listen, and we had a great time at the Kentucky Derby. My cousin Matt threw a great party, and we watched the Derby. And when I saw them run 1-2, I was just like, oh my goodness. What did it end up paying for $2?
$50.
Yeah, $50. So
we would have had $50 box.
right, which would have got back, oh gosh, over 1,000.
No more than that. I think it was 2,500 or so.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, so that was tough. But since then, journalism goes on to run in the Preakness Stakes. And we talked briefly about this before, but I just wanted to echo. I feel like the journalism performance in that race was like a top 5 race between jockey and horse performance I've seen in my time watching the game. Do you think that is a hot take or a cold take?
No, I think that's a hot take. I think ultimately it was a great race. I mean, it's come under a lot of scrutiny. I've heard people say that there was some bad riding going on. I think there was some competitive riding going on,
Right.
and it was a big race. And like you watch in the NBA finals when there's tougher fouls, it's a big race. They're gonna go after it. They're gonna go after it. And when that hole opened up, there was one small hole. And when journalism went after it, Flavian Pratt did what most jockeys would do. He tried to shut the hole off.
Right. Flavian Pratt that day riding the horse on the outside. Who was he riding?
I think it was Code of Silence.
Yeah, exactly. Code of Silence. Journalism with Umberto Rispoli ends up pushing through a hole that was there and then shut off. So it wasn't a hole that didn't exist. It wasn't space that he wasn't allowed to be attacking. But it did take some cojones from Rispoli to make the move. Now, I know that I've talked to a few friends about the race. I know that it is his job to ride the horse, and his job has inherent danger. I know a common thing I hear from jockeys is, it's not if you get hurt, it's kind of like when, because it's going to happen. But I really felt like that he won the race as much as the horse did, and realistically took a big gamble with his own health to punch through a hole that wasn't there. And then how did the horse still have something left to run down the 9, who That a name always, what's his
Gosker.
name? Gosker, thank you. It's just an odd name. Gosker, who was kind of still digging in, like Gosker hadn't fully like thrown in the towel. It was unbelievable. You were equally as impressed with journalism that day?
Yeah, I to re-engage and to run down Gosker after a mile and mile 16th. I mean, just showed the absolute class and competitiveness of the horse. But you know what? It's one of the reasons I like the horse. I had seen the horse run on TV a few times. He just had great confirmation, and all the reports were this horse was a very intelligent horse who knew how to handle himself. That horse really, considering what that they put him through, showed a lot of courage. He didn't look like he was flustered running past that horse. He's kind of like, yeah, I'll go through that hole, you know? I mean, it's a good horse.
It is a good horse. And it was like, you could tell you could see the competitive nature in the move too. Because there can be good racehorses that just run races because they're fast and run well because they're talented. But then I feel like every once in a while you see a horse that is really talented but is also competitive and sees another horse and is like, I have to go catch you now. Yeah. You know, he has that. Journalism has that.
Yeah.
He does.
He definitely does. And obviously Sovereignty does too. Because Sovereignty ran a great race in the Derby. That was a great race by Sovereignty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was. Okay, so here we go. We're going to the Belmont Stakes this weekend on Saturday. Race around 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we have a field of, I believe it is 6 or 7? 7. I am a part of a Facebook group where I threw up a fun poll the past 3 days it's been up, where I asked everyone to vote. I got over 100 votes. The poll was, this Saturday, who wins the race? Journalism, Sovereignty, or the rest of the field? Journalism, Sovereignty, or the field? So take a second now, if you're watching this on YouTube, go down in the comments and throw down which one of those you pick. And I'm going to let you in on the results as of right now. So I'm going to tell you too, because there's been more votes since we talked about it last night. And I want you to tell me if these surprise you at all.
Go for it.
Results coming in: Sovereignty winning the race, 51 votes. Journalism winning the race, 83 votes.
Right.
The field winning the race, 88 votes. It's kind of interesting. It was even higher than I thought. What's your natural reaction to that?
It's understandable. I understand it primarily because Saratoga is always been known. They call it the graveyard of champions, but I don't,
favorites.
Of favorites. I don't really agree with that. But Saratoga is a speed track. For years, I've been going there steady since 1974. Speed horses have dominated Saratoga racetrack. Stalkers. It's very hard to close at Saratoga. And I can remember maybe 5 times in the last 50 years that I've seen horses come from far out. I saw Honor Code come from far out. I saw Crouppy come from far out in big races. A high-quality horse could do it, but there haven't been that many. So Sovereignty, I think, will be sitting a little too far back. I think Journalism could be closer to the pace, and that's why he's got more votes than Sovereignty. And because Baeza ran such a great race, I think the 88 votes, a lot of it's coming from the Baeza and from the fact that there's 2 speed horses in that grouping. And speed horses win this race a lot of times.
Speed horses win this race a lot of times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, I feel like if it's a mile and an eighth, a mile and a half, which is the true Belmont distance, I lean towards speed being better. But I feel like a mile and a quarter actually sets up for a little bit, maybe not a true closing move, but there could be like a middle move.
Of course there can. But if, Pletcher puts Crudo in the race to keep the race honest.
Right.
And Bobby Flay's horse.
Yep.
And it showed incredible sportsmanship, I think. Because Rodriguez is going to get to the lead by himself. Rodriguez, if he doesn't get to the lead, he has no worth.
No chance. He will not win the race.
And so if he clears, Mikey's going to ride hard to get clear around that first turn. If he gets clear and settles into a 48 pace, the horse may go a little further than we think. It's not to say that he won't get run down, but it's to say that on this track, he may be able to carry that speed pretty far. But Crudo, keeping him honest, if he's on his heels, if Crudo's on his heels, I think then the big three, the horses that ran first, second, and third, finish the race across the track in a great finish. That's my expectation. What about you?
My expectation is Rodriguez does get to the lead and does everything possible to get there.
Yeah.
I agree. I think Crudo's been put into the race, like you said, almost like a competitive fairness in the race, an opportunity for a horse that is speed favoring to enter into a race with not that much speed.
Right.
Because let's also talk. We know this game. What if Rodriguez doesn't come out straight?
Right.
And Crudo just gets the lead by himself? It is a winnable race for him, even though that's crazy to say.
Yes. Yes.
But I feel like the dark horse in the race is Baeza. I love Sovereignty. My competitiveness says I need to go back and back him again in this race, and I do with my heart, but I don't know that I will with a win bet this weekend. I think Baeza comes in fresh. He had the least amount of races of those big three heading into the Derby. Maybe the right time for him to take that step forward. I think he's actually, I don't know. I think Baeza actually sits more forward than Journalism this time, and I think that he gets the first move on the Crudo-Rodriguez duo in whichever order that they're in. I feel like there is a race where Journalism and Baeza went head-to-head in California, and I think did Baeza make the first move?
Yes, but that was the day that Journalism got completely blocked and had to wait.
Right. Correct, on the rail. Right,
on the rail.
Right.
And I think that they've been proactive, and Journalism has been looking great down there. And I think they know, Mike McCarthy knows that track. He knows that Umberto's got to put this horse in the race earlier. I think he has more natural speed than Baeza. He looks to me like he has more natural speed. I think he'll be 2-3 lengths ahead of Baeza, is my take. I think he makes the first jump at the speed horses, takes the lead, but I think both of those horses will come running. And I think I swear we might have a championship race here with three horses across the track.
Not what if, because it's going to, how does the impending rain change the race?
Oh my goodness. Yeah, now it's about a 70% chance of rain, but usually showers. And by 7:04, I hear that it might be lightening up. They'll do a great job to try and keep it at least maybe good or muddy. I don't think it'll be a sea of slop. And these three horses have already run on an off track and proved that they're good on it. I mean, this is a different off track. I mean, it's Saratoga. None of them have ever competed there. So, yeah. I mean, that's another thing to throw in.
Yeah, it's another wrench in this puzzle that is an uber competitive race and a fun race. And I haven't been this excited about a Belmont Stakes in like the last. I can't even remember when I was this excited.
You know what? It's a valid point. Now today I was watching the races from Saratoga, and they did an interview with Frank Miramati, the announcer, and Frank. They were in the booth in between races, and Frank said that he was on edge. He said he's just dying to see what happens in this race because these three horses. I remember the years when Buckpasser and Damascus and Dr. Fager all ran in one race, three champions. These three horses all have the capacity to become pretty good champions, I think. I really do. All three.
It's hard to argue. Especially with what we saw in the Kentucky Derby, what we saw Journalism level up, and what he did in the Preakness, knowing both of these horses, one beat him, and one was right there at the wire with him. So this is going to be an unbelievable race. I want to do a quick, fun game. When we do our pods and it's just he and I and we don't have a guest on, we're going to rip some games from time to time. Today is going to be a Belmont Stakes trivia game. Where I'm going to give you the winner. We're not going to go year this time. I'm going to give you the winner, and you just tell me what you remember about the horse. Whoa. I'm looking for trainer. I'm looking for jockey. And whatever you can tell me about the race.
Hey, whatever. I'll see what I remember.
Okay, let's see what you got. I'm going to go 2014.
2014.
Tonalist.
I think that was Christophe Clement. And actually, Tonalist was a closer. I don't remember that being a great year for 3-year-olds. I think it was a relatively weak year for 3-year-olds. Tonalist might have been 6 to 8 lengths off the pace and won that race, I think, pretty handily, maybe by 2 or 3. But I don't think the competition was as severe as what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
But I remember him being a good horse, and I don't remember him becoming a great horse afterwards. I think he was good, but I don't think he became a great horse.
I can picture him winning a big race at Saratoga after. I don't know if it was that 3-year-old season, but maybe as a 4-year-old winning a big race.
Could very well be.
Do you know who rode him in the Belmont Stakes?
Hold on.
You got I feel like you can get it with the Clement, but I'll give you a hint.
Was it Joel?
It was.
Joel Rosario.
I thought you would get that. Okay.
All right, Joel.
Number 2, Union Rags.
Union Rags.
Throwback because shout out to my cousin Jen. She and I had multiple $100 bets on Union Rags to win the Belmont. I bet him in the Kentucky Derby that year, year being 2012. And I loved that big horse, and I felt like the 1.5 miles was perfect for him. He just sat right on the rail, waited, and I don't know if you remember, but he snuck up the rail the whole time and just edged away at the end. He had a rail run the whole Belmont Stakes.
Well, you know what? I remember him being more of a speed horse than being a classical closer. I remember having him 50 to win at Saratoga in another race, and he was a bull. I remember him being a bull, and he was a tough guy.
He was.
I remember him being a tough guy.
Who
rode him? Was it Javier Castellano?
So Union Rags was Michael Matz
And Michael Matz.
and Johnny V.
Johnny V was on him?
Yep,
Holy
Johnny V.
cow.
So these connections, especially jockey, is going to be tougher, I feel like, because he might not. I don't know that he was ridden by Johnny V in the Derby. So like some things change. So these are a little bit harder.
Okay.
Okay. So let's go back a little bit here. Tell me what you know about Victory Gallop in 1998.
Victory Gallop, 1998. That was the year that Victory Gallop broke up the Triple Crown when he beat Real Quiet by a nose. Kent Sormo had won the first 2 legs for Bobby Baffert on Real Quiet. And in the Belmont, this was at Belmont Park, Kent's horse was starting to tire. And as he was tiring, he saw Victory Gallop coming. And Kent did some race riding, and he kind of pushed his horse out to the right. And Victory Gallop got up to beat him by just the nose. And I remembered some of the scuttlebutt was that there probably would have been an objection in that race if Kent had won the race. Whether or not they take him down, I don't know.
Right.
But he definitely bore out a little bit purposely and whatnot. But Victory Gallop came from 12 lengths out. He was a big closer. Big closer. Who wrote him? Was it Jerry Bailey?
It was Gary Stevens,
Oh, Gary.
Elliot Walden.
Ooh.
So a cool connection there. Okay.
Oh.
Belmont Stakes, 1989, Easy Goer.
Oh my goodness. Well, this is a great storyline because Sunday Silence beat Easy Goer in the Derby. He was the California horse. Easy Goer was the East Coast horse. And Sunday Silence beat him by maybe a length and 3/4 in the Derby. They had a rematch in the Preakness, but Pat Day chose to go up the rail. He got pinned in by Pat Venezuela real tight. They fought to the wire. He couldn't use the right-hand whip. And Sunday Silence wins again by about maybe by a head. Now they go to Belmont 3 weeks later, 1.5 miles. Easy Goer beat him by 10. Sunday Silence had a flat effort, but Easy Goer was going to win the race no matter what. The son of Alidar was like incredible. You know what I mean?
It's funny because I feel like sometimes horses, silks, jockeys, and colors, you'll hear a horse's name, and whenever I hear Easy Goer, I immediately think of black and red.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
classical.
Yeah.
Classical.
So Pat Day trained by?
Pat Day, trained by, was that Shug McGahee?
Yep. Beautiful.
That was Shug. And think about it. That race was 1.5 miles. When the races were run on speed tracks, primarily on speed tracks, Sunday Silence was better. He made a quicker move, and he was a tough horse. He was a very good horse. He beat Easy Goer more times than Easy Goer beat him.
Right. It was just that one was big in the Belmont. Okay, so final one. We're going to go 2020, 'Tis the Law.
Oh, my gosh, that was during COVID.
Yeah. Yep.
And I mean, it was a bit of a sad situation because we couldn't go to Saratoga that year. Probably we missed 2 years, I think, in your whole lifetime.
Yeah.
And that year we couldn't go. And unfortunately, I mean, the excitement isn't as good. We still followed it and we still played it, but watching stuff on TV just doesn't match it. You need the crowd, you need the energy. I felt bad for Tisdalaw because he was an excellent horse. I had heard when he was a 2-year-old from connections in Florida. I forgot his name. Tony Eberhardt called my brother Jimmy in Florida and said, "Jimmy, there's a great horse in Florida that you got to watch out for." Tisdalaw was his name. This was when he was 2, and he turned out to be a real good horse. Tisdalaw good.
Was a great horse. Do you know who rode him that day?
I think it was Manny Franco.
Great. Yep. Trained by BT.
That was what was the name again?
Barkley Tag.
Oh, the Barkley Tag. Okay.
Just a little.
Yeah, I think that was Barkley Tag's best classic horse.
Yeah, that
on
was
the dirt. On the dirt.
Yeah, true. So that was a little fun little snapshot into some Belmont Stakes history. I think history will be made this week. So let's get to our final predictions here in the race. Give me a small snippet, how you see the race going, how they finish 1, 2, 3.
Well, it's the kind of race you have to play because it's so exciting. You want to be involved in this race. To make a big bet on this race, it's not smart, I don't believe. Because ultimately, I could picture multiple scenarios. And that's without completely understanding the speed line. How's the speed line going to affect this race? But I do believe that these 3 horses have the potential of all being champions. I think they pretty much proved that they're pretty good. Baeza needs more time, but he's coming along. He's well trained. He's tremendous breeding, and I think that these 3 horses could finish within a length, 2 lengths of each other across the track, spread out on a track that's a little bit off. And I think we can have a great one. I think Frank will be screaming, this could have the drama that we love about the game. What do you think?
I completely agree.
Yeah, maybe if I was to play it, I would play it conservative. I played 1 ticket because I'm a journalism fan, and because he's feeling so good at the track. My heart goes for him. I'll probably bet 2 $20 triples with him over Baeza and Sovereignty to start, but then I'll probably bet a $5 box on the 3 of them to cover my money. It ain't going to pay that much. That's why I want to have the $20 one. But a little part of me thinks potentially Sovereignty may have too much ground to make up. I may even bet an exacta journalism in Baeza. It could pay $25, or maybe I can get a $20 one on that. I would see that as potential for me right now. Right now, that's what I'm saying. Until I see more about the track. What do you think?
I'm going. Rodriguez gets out to the lead and sets faster pace fractions than we're anticipating. I don't think we see the Derby pace fractions in the first quarter into the second, but I think by half mile, I still think we could see a 46 and just maybe a sub 47, which sets up for somebody to make a move. I think we see Baeza a little bit more forwardly placed than journalism in this race. I'm not quite sure why I feel that. I just think he's the fresh horse, the now horse, and he knows that he doesn't want to be chasing journalism. I don't think he wants to see journalism kick away from him and have to run him down. I think he'd rather make the first move. So I'm going to say that around the turn, Baeza makes the first move and journalism catches him and they get hooked up, and Sovereignty ends up running a great race and just nailing both of them at the wire, and it's real close. So my fresh now horse, for the price that you're going to get, Baeza, I think is a strong bet. But for me and my competitive nature, and I'm a bit stubborn, I think that especially if you get a little bit of the rain, the track comes up a little bit soft like it did in Kentucky. I don't know. I think Sovereignty runs them both down again, and you see the same finish of Sovereignty, journalism, Baeza, same way.
Not out of the question. Not out of the question. I disagree a little bit about the Baeza. Angle only because I've seen a few of his workouts. When I look at the horse, I don't see a speed animal. I see a talented horse, but I don't see a speed animal. And I don't think you want to necessarily test this horse at this point in time to run a different kind of race. I don't think you want to ask this horse for speed when you've been asking in his victories in California and then his Derby performance. He comes from way out. He proved that he could run late. So why? I don't think you want to take a chance of taking matter. I'd let him run his race and see if he can improve. And I mean, these horses finished within 2 lengths of each other, all three of them. You know, I don't see your angle on him being closer up as being evident.
That's fair. My counterpoint to that is I think that the 3 best horses in the race, the 3 best trainers of those horses and jockeys included, all think that this is by and large a 3-horse race. And let's just play the game that if this was a 3-horse race, that horse that gets the first jump and is, the first one around the turn to make the move and take the lead would have a massive advantage. So I feel sort of that's what's leaning me in. It's a small field. It's 7 horses. You get what I'm saying?
Well, I like that, but we saw Baeza almost catch journalism at the Derby. And he did it with 1 sustained run. And it could have went either way. One more jump, he probably was going to pass journalism in that race.
Yeah.
Maybe 1.5 jumps, I don't know. But ultimately, I don't know. I think you trust the fact that if this is a classic horse, let him go full speed at the end of the race. Let him go full speed the last 16th.
But does he, I'm with you. The only problem is, does he want to be in the same spot he was in Kentucky, where he's looking down the tail feathers of both of them, and there's not enough time to get him?
This is a smaller field. Flavian will get better positioning. There'll be two horses in the front and 5 horses spread around. I don't think it's hard to find these horses being in trouble. I mean, I think that was a rarity to see what we saw. You know?
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, it very well, like you said, it very well could be. I don't know why my gut's telling me Baeza is more forwardly placed this time. Not on the lead, but I'm saying 3 off of a pace out in front of him with journalism tucked right in behind or maybe even just outside of him. But we shall see. That's why they run the race. It's funny, too, because we're going to end up recording a 30-plus minute pod. We're going to spend a few hours handicapping. We're going to look through and find our picks, and it's going to be done in 1 minute and 55 seconds.
Yeah, well, no, I'm not that fast, brother. How about 2:01 and 4?
Oh yeah, it's a mile.
I'll go 2:01 and
mile and a quarter. Yeah,
2:01 and 4. That's what I predicted. 2:01 and 4.
Yeah,
but I think I'm hoping that all 3 of them show up, and I hope Rodriguez shows up too.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. I just like we're saying, this has the potential. All the pundits that I've heard talk in the last few days, the people that I respect in the horse racing game, all think that these 3 horses are not flukes, that these 3 horses have the capacity to be high-quality horses.
Yeah, I mean, shoot, you don't have to convince me. You don't have to convince me of that style of race, how quickly things go on the front end early, all could play a part in how things finish.
Yeah.
Sovereignty, like you make a good point with sovereignty. Sovereignty, this race, a little bit further back based off of the sheer not that many horses in the race and people getting to hand select where they want to be a little bit cleaner. Like you said, he's going to sit a little bit further back. There is a world where journalism sits a perfect stalking trip, takes the lead, and no one catches him. That is a real thing, too.
Yeah, it's possible. And look, I don't want to sit on what happened with Sierra Leone, who I did bet last year, but Sierra Leone is a legitimate closer. He did wind up winning the Breeders' Cup and won some real nice races.
Yeah.
Saratoga, the horse had trouble making that huge move and sustaining it. I don't know why, but Saratoga's a tough course to beat the sharp turns. I don't know the composite. I'm not sure, but it's a hard course to sustain that sprint down the stretch.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. So it's going to be a heck of a time. Saturday evening. Junior Alvarado, right?
Junior.
awesome dude. Felt like
Venezuela. It's from Venezuela.
Venezuela. I
Good
feel like
guy.
he's been on a victory tour, much deserved, because he ran an incredible race in the Kentucky Derby. Junior Alvarado, here's my message to you. From someone who's not going to be riding the horse and just likes to throw in his 2 cents. I don't know if you have seen the movie Seabiscuit. You probably have. But sovereignty cannot be as far back, and you have to have him look journalism in the eye at some point in time down the stretch. Because I swear to you, Junior, if you look him in the eye, there's no fucking way that horse loses that race. So please, for the love of God, make the same move like you did in the Kentucky Derby. Get him up around the turn. Don't rely on making this sweeping move. Look journalism in the eye and bury him, Junior. Do it for the people who got this.
Hey,
I really want to see
Josh, do you have any watermelon?
Oh man, so I'm just excited. All right, we have to talk about our plans. What are we doing Saturday?
Oh, let's see how the weather is and see what kind of mood you're in.
I'm just in a mood to be somewhere live.
You
Feel
want to
the
be somewhere
energy.
live.
I do.
Monmouth makes more sense. Delaware only has 7 races.
Right.
Monmouth makes the most sense. They'll have a decent card, but they'll have a good 10, 11, 12 races.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Right.
we do love Monmouth, and we did have your bachelor party there last year.
Yeah.
You know, and we might have your baby boy or your baby girl's birthday of bachelor party there one year, too.
That would be fun. That would be fun. That would be awesome.
I mean, we might have your baby boy or baby girl at the track next year. We know that for sure.
That is true. That would be awesome. Next year, camping, So we go every year. We're in Saratoga. My dad's in Saratoga multiple times per season, but our family goes the second week of August, and we camp out, and then we go get 3, 4, sometimes 5 track days in, and it's a ton of fun. I think it's my favorite racetrack to be at, between the energy, the food, which is kind of gone downhill a little bit.
A little bit.
Kind of saddens me.
They used to have more fresh food. The sausage and peppers used to be beautiful.
I know, and like the lobster roll has to be $45. You know what I mean? You can't go back to 19. It's like, geez,
no. And they don't even take money now. They just take credit cards.
I know you can't.
You want a candy bar? You got to use your credit card.
But I love Saratoga. I love the
we
energy there. I'm going twice this year. I can't wait. My dad, you'll be there.
I'll do
3 trips.
3 trips right now. I do one. I get about 24 days, something like that. I mean, last year I did good. I had a good summer there. Won a few grand, and I had a couple pick 5s, but I handicapped every day at Saratoga last year. I bought the form every day, and you try and get a rhythm with anything, and you try and stay with what you learn, and follow it through. But it's a beautiful sport.
It's a beautiful sport, and it's a beautiful time right now. I feel like the game is actually growing right now.
How about Belmont Park? They've spent $565 million to build this beautiful, big, giant white structure.
That's unbelievable.
That's going to be open, I think, 8-9 months a year. And I hear it's going to have a...
You hear about the water park? There's a water park in there.
Is that right?
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait for the Belmont Park because it's not that far from us. It's probably like 2.5.
And they're rebuilding Pimlico. Who thought that was going to happen?
True.
I mean, Pimlico, people thinking, Pimlico's going to go out. Guess what? They're going
to
rebuild it. I hear it's going to be sensational.
Yeah.
So, you know what? We're proud. It's thriving.
It is.
It's thriving,
It is. And it's honestly, it's partially why I felt like doing the pod together now is a good time, because we get to take a little bit of your knowledge of the game and your long tenure in the game, and you just have so much insight, and then me, who's just a little bit younger and in touch with more of like the social media and that side, try and mix the two, meet them in the middle, and get the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's fun, and it just brings a lot of joy. It brings people together.
It does.
It
does.
And that's a great one. Hey, and we got the NBA Finals starting tonight.
Yep.
I mean, look who's playing. 2 OKC against Indiana. 2 young, fast teams. It's like a college game.
It is.
This is going to be a little bit different from what we've seen.
Yeah.
I'm not even sure it'll be as physical as people think. I think these teams are going to be running and gunning and scoring,
It's going to be exciting. And speaking of exciting, my dad and I are doing a year-long, it's going to go from now until the end of the year, handicapping contest. Our Instagram, which is Daily Double Pod, we'll put the link in the description here. We're going to do a challenge where each weekend, Friday night, we're going to handicap. We're going to pick 4 races at random on that Saturday the next day and pick our winners the night before. We're going to track throughout the year how many of our picks win, so we'll have a win percentage, and then we'll track of those that win what they pay. So basically an average on how much they pay to win. So it'll be fun. To recap, the rules of this for he and I, which we're just doing it for fun, but is if we're going to make our picks on Friday night, so if the horse gets scratched the next day, we're just going to not include the race. We like to do some research the day before and getting for the turnaround times, trying to get them out Friday night into Saturday morning kind of works the best for us. So last weekend, we did the first week, we're calling it the Cappin Contest, where we made 4 picks each, and we had 2 horses scratch.
2 scratch, yeah.
So we only had 2 entries last week. I had a horse in a maiden special weights race that didn't break/run particularly well, and then I had the favorite in the grass stakes race on Saturday at where were we? We're at
Churchill Downs.
Churchill Downs, who was sweated out, and I didn't love the horse on look. So that's a little bit of what's going to be challenging with this, and then I'll let you take over from here. But what's going to be challenging about this contest, but it's going to be fun, is our handicapping and preparation style for the races is always 2-part. It is homework the night before, sometimes that day, that morning, that drive, that commute, and then taking the looks edge when we see them in the paddock, we see the behavior, we see if they're on their toes, take all those factors in, and almost reinforce the homework we did the night before. You know what I mean? So we're like 2-part horse players, and with the handicapping contest, we're only really able to tap in to 1. Now, we're still going to bring some great picks. We're both 0-2, but what are your thoughts on the handicapping contest? It's going to be fun.
It'll be fun. We've improved because we've played a lot of pick 5s and pick 6s. Our handicapping by paper has improved. There's no doubt that in our family, we excel more with the looks angle.
Yeah.
That's our stronger suit. I've made the biggest scores in my life more through looks. I mean, I've had 80-1 shot, 40-1 shots, tons of 20, 25.
That you wouldn't have had on the paper.
I wouldn't have had on paper.
Right.
I got because when I looked at them at the paddock, they looked what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
And ultimately, still, you got to be able to pick them on paper and try and pick the best horse. And we've done that. And we've been successful with that as well. The other thing with the scratches that I would say is the game has been trying to protect the horses more and more the last several years. You're going to see more scratches than you used to see. If a horse is on edge and maybe doesn't want to run in an off track or a soft turf, the trainer maybe in the old day might have ran them. They don't do it now. And it seems to me to be a lot more scratches. I think that'll happen, but that's good. That's not a bad thing. They're trying to protect the horses, put the horses in the right spot.
Definitely. And we talked Saturday morning of last week, and, we saw the horses were scratched. And, part of me was sad that they were scratched, but another part of me, like you're saying, was just like, I like that we're in a day and age where there's enough opportunity for racing and there's enough money in the game, and there are enough horses out there that you're not racing the horse when you don't have to.
Exactly.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be. So we were sad our horses were scratched, but we ended up making 2 picks apiece last week because we had both selected the same horse in the first race of our sequence, and he was unfortunately scratched. 8-5 favorite. It's funny to think. I still feel like he would have won, but I guess if he was scratched, it means he wasn't feeling good.
No, but maybe not, because Billy Mott, who trained the horse that you and I picked, trained the winner of the race. So who knows? Maybe he knew the winner of the race was feeling incredible, and he probably said, why waste them both? Who knows?
Let's find another spot.
That horse, excited, ran a huge race that day, won by 6, and he was cantering.
Yeah,
he won easy.
Yeah.
So who knows? Who knows whatnot? But It's all good.
It's all fun.
It's all good. Look, if handicapping's a difficult but a fun thing,
It is.
And we've had our success. We've had plenty of success, so we can't complain.
So our success, we're going to share some stories. This is our first episode. We're going to try and keep our episodes somewhere around this range, 35, 45 minutes. But we will share stories along the way. We have some awesome stories. We have some family members making giant bets at racetracks. We have...
How about you? You hit for 20 grand twice.
We have some awesome stories of big hits. Our cousin Jen, when we do talk your story, we want to have you on the pod. My cousin Jen made over $100K score in one race.
Yeah, it was actually like $120,000 hit, and I think they took taxes out, and she got 92 or 96 grand in one race at Santa Anita.
That's one race. We won't do the story justice, so we will have to bring her on. She's great. She's been a great addition to our horse racing.
And that happened. That was a few years ago, but it happened.
Yeah, we'll show you the receipts. We have the receipts, if you will. So we have some great stories, and we'll share those. We want to take the pod wherever it takes us. We're happy. We just want to have some fun, guests on. We have a potential guest lined up, not set in stone yet, but Mr. Lane Luzzy, who had a big win today at Saratoga.
Came off the pace on the grass.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, like at 16-1 was it?
Yeah, and
how did that horse get up?
I'll tell you what, this kid is talented, and he used to be one of those riders that I would bet, and I always could be like, okay, I know that Lane's horse is going to be a price. He's riding so much. He's just so dialed right now. And you don't. I mean, I guess today's horse was a bit of a price, but I feel like he's on better horses. He's getting better mounts, which he deserves.
How about my pal Kendrick Carmouche? Carmouche, one of my friends. He wins with a horse that pays $60 today, 5.5 furlongs on the turf.
Carmouche too. We'll end up reaching out. One of our favorite jockeys, an absolute stud. Feel like in the past 6 to 7 years, it went from like Carmouche winning a few here and there to like now. If he's on a horse, the horse got a chance.
Yeah, well, he dominated at Delaware for a few years.
Right.
And then he dominated at Philly Park. And then when he moved his tack to New York, it was much more competitive.
Right.
But he's made his way. His way.
Definitely.
He had a great winter and a great spring.
Right.
Great winter and a great spring.
Man, podcast episode 1 has been a ton of fun. What I would like to do in closing is... We lost my dad's brother, my uncle. Wanted to dedicate episode 1 to him. A horse player who owned racehorses. My uncle Jim, my dad's brother Jim, passed away recently, and just wanted to dedicate episode 1. I know we did a few practice runs of the pod, and we've already talked about it. But love you, Uncle Jim. I know that you're looking down right now, making some bets and sending all your good, positive vibes. So we love you and want to dedicate episode 1 to you.
Right on, Josh. That's beautiful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Episode 2, soon enough. Belmont Stakes recap coming after the Belmont. Get your bets in and have some fun.
Right on. Nice to be with you all. Nice to be with you, Josh.